The AU-1 is the alternative award for the space race event. This plane is a modification of the infamous F4U-4B Corsair, built for the US Marine Corps. It was highly tuned for low altitude close air support, fielding 4 20mm cannons and up to 6,500 pounds of bombs and rockets. Is this monster of a close air support plane worth the massive grind? Alright lads, today I'm going to be talking about the performance, weapons and playstyle of the AU-1. Starting as always with the basics, this plane is a rank 4 battle rating 5.7 attacker aircraft, located in the American Tech Tree. Being rank 4, it will be efficient at researching all American aircraft between the ranks of 1 and 5, which means you will be able to research all of the first generation American jets with this plane. To unlock this plane, you will have to take part in Gaijin's spring event, which is named the Space Race. For more information on this event, I strongly recommend you watch Gaijin's official launch trailer. After launching 3 rockets and obtaining the coupon for the Object 279, you will be able to trade it for a coupon for this plane. Unlike the Object 279, the AU-1 is a premium vehicle and does get increased RP and Silverline modifiers. Going on to the rewards, the AU-1 has a base RP modifier of 1.72, which is rather average for battle rating 5.7. You can expect an RP modifier of 344% with a free-to-play account and 516% with a premium account. The AU-1 is rather let down when it comes to its Silverline modifier. Only having a base modifier of 1.8, you will have a Silverline modifier of 360% with a free-to-play account and 540% with a premium account. This lags severely behind the other 5.7 American premiums, which most have a base Silverline modifier of 2.5. If you'd like to know more about this plane and whether it's worth the apparently 60 hours of grinding, then stick around for the rest of the video. The AU-1 is powered by the same engine as found in the F4U-4B Corsair. The R28 engine produces 2,300 horsepower, which can power this plane up to a top speed of 638 km/h. As I said in the introduction, this plane is specialised for low altitude flying. And this is reflected in the stats, as this top speed is achieved at an altitude of only 4,200 meters. This is due to the AU-1 having a weaker compressor compared to the one found in the F4U-4B. This means your power output at high altitude is a lot lower when compared to your Tech Tree cousin. This makes your rather good climb rate of 19 meters per second a little less impressive, as the higher you go, the weaker your performance. Seeing as the current meta at battle rating 5.7 is high altitude fighting, these downsides leave you incredibly vulnerable against the K4s and even the Doras. The AU-1 does retain the excellent flaps found on all of the Corsairs in the game, which can be used incredibly effectively when stall fighting. But the problem here, due to the weakness I mentioned before, is that getting into positions where you have a significant energy advantage is rather rare. The AU-1 has a turn time which is 2 seconds greater than that of the F4U-4B, making a complete 360-degree turn in 22 seconds, and you really can feel the difference when flying both. The AU-1 feels far less responsive in the elevator, and overall far more sluggish. I imagine this is due to the extra weight of the belly armour, which was put in place to protect the pilot and plane from ground fire. Like most of the Corsairs in the game, the AU-1 also suffers with awful compression at high speeds, making the typical boom and zoom playstyle of American planes quite hard for players who don't know how to manage their energy. Overall, the AU-1 really is designed to be a low altitude close air support plane. It isn't really competitive at 5.7 in air realistic battles, at least not as a dedicated fighter. You can get good results if you go into engagements with an energy advantage, but you could say that about any plane in the game. Going on to the armament of this plane, and things start looking up. Your primary weapons are the 4 20mm M3 cannons, armed with 984 rounds in total, or 246 rounds per gun. Not only do you have an incredibly healthy amount of ammo, but these cannons are absolutely lethal, taking only 3 or 4 hits to destroy an enemy. The guns are a little bit inaccurate, they kind of have the same spread as a shotgun, but I had no issue aiming them. As you can see, the AU-1 has a wide array of weapons available to be carried on its hardpoints. You have 3 centerline hardpoints and 10 wing-based hardpoints. We'll start with the most basic weapons, the bombs. You can carry several bomb loads, ranging from 250 pound bombs all the way up to 2,000 pound bombs. All of the bombs stored on the wings will drop 2 at a time, but the bombs on the centerline pylons will drop 1 at a time. This means if you take the load out of 3 1,000 pound bombs, you will get 3 individual bomb drops. This is quite rare in War Thunder. If we take out the largest bomb load, consisting of 10 250 pound bombs, 2 1,000 pound bombs, and a single 2,000 pound bomb, we would have 8 individual bomb drops, potentially allowing you to kill 8 individual tanks with 1 weapons load. which is incredibly impressive for close air support in ground realistic battles. If you guys thought the P-47 was bad, then this plane should make you terrified. The AU-1 is also able to carry two different types of rockets. The first types are the good old HVARs, a common weapon found on most of the American fighter bombers. These rockets have a warhead containing 3.4 kilograms of TNT, which gives them a penetration of 36mm at all ranges. These rockets are rather good, but do require a direct hit to get a kill. You can carry a maximum of 10 HVAR rockets, but as they are stored on the wings, they will fire 2 at a time, giving you a total of 5 salvos. With the 10 HVARs on the wings, the center pylons can also be used to carry out a selection of bombs. The second rockets are the Tiny Tims. These contain a whopping 63.5 kilograms of TNT, giving them 93mm of penetration at all ranges. While incredibly powerful, these rockets are very hard to aim. This is made worse by the fact you can only carry a maximum of 3 Tiny Tims, making them quite hard to use for less experienced players. Just like the HVARs, you can carry a selection of bombs as well as your 3 Tiny Tims, but as the Tiny Tims are stored on the centerline pylons, the bombs will be stored on the outer wings, meaning they will drop 2 at a time. Overall, the weapons of the AU-1 are incredibly good for close air support. Your bomb and rocket loads are by far the best in the game tier for tier, and this plane is without a doubt the best cast plane at 5.7 in the American tech tree. But while your weapons are powerful, the aforementioned poor performance in the current high tier prop meta means getting your guns on target is rather hard. When spawning into an RB game, I will equip the air target belt, no additional weapons, and a minimum fuel load of 11 minutes. This low fuel load does limit your ability to stay in the fight, but it makes you a lot lighter, and somewhat helps improve your poor performance. As the AU-1 is an attacker, it gets an attacker air spawn, just like the AD-4 Sky Raiders. This gives you a bit of an advantage, as you spawn at speed and can immediately go into a climb. I would say that side climbing in this plane is an absolute necessity. I will turn away from the enemy spawn by about 45 degrees, and then put the plane into a 15-degree climb on full wep. When your engine starts overheating, put the plane on 100% power and lower the climb rate to around 13 degrees. From here, turn into the enemy and boom and zoom the enemies like other American fighters. Remember to watch for compression of your elevator and rudder, and always convert your speed back into altitude. In ground realistic battles, I will equip the loadout containing 10 250-pound bombs, 2 1,000-pound bombs, and a single 2,000-pound bomb. I tend to stay away from the rockets, as I personally am not able to use them as effectively as conventional bombs. With this bomb load, just find an enemy and strafe them. Just remember what I said about this plane feeling less responsive in the elevator. When carrying such a large bomb load, the plane will struggle to pull out of a steep dive. Bear that in mind before committing to a high angle bomb run. In terms of lineups, the AU-1 has a very good selection of tanks to accompany it into a ground realistic battle. You have the Hellcat as your speedy boy, the M4A2 and M4A3 as medium tanks, the Sherman Jumbo as a heavy tank, and the M19 as your anti-aircraft gun. The 5.7 American lineup is very powerful in my opinion, and it is made even better by the addition of this plane. To conclude, the AU-1 is a rather underwhelming premium. It has a very low silver line modifier and an average RP modifier. Its performance in Air Realistic is pretty poor in comparison to the F4U-4B and other battle rating 5.7 vehicles. The stereotype of American pilots being terrible exists for a reason. Boom and zoom fighters, which all of the American planes are, require a lot of knowledge of playstyle and energy management. Combine this with the F4U's rather poor performance, and I'd say that this plane isn't really a good choice for beginner players or players looking for an easy grind. However, for players looking for a godlike close air support plane in ground realistic, then the AU-1 is a good choice. It has a ridiculous amount of ordnance, and decent enough performance to be competitive in the low altitude air battles in ground realistic, but I wouldn't really recommend this plane unless you solely want to use it in ground realistic battles. There are much better premiums in the American tech tree, such as the P-47M and Spitfire LF Mark 9. It's hard to compare the AU-1 to these premiums, as we do not know how much this plane will cost on the market after the event is finished. I'd say that the AU-1 is worth around 20 to 30 Gaijin coins, but I imagine it will be sold for much more. If after the event finishes, this plane is relatively cheap, then it will make a good discount premium for the American tech tree. But if it costs a similar amount to the P-47M and Spitfire LF Mark 9, then without a doubt I'd say do not buy this plane. The P-47 and Spitfire just outclass it in pretty much every way apart from bomb load. If you are grinding out the event, then I imagine that the Object 279 will be sold for a much higher price, so I'd keep the tank coupon rather than exchanging it for this plane. Remember to stop grinding if you stop having fun, and as always, I hope you found this video useful lads, and thank you very much for watching.